So, if you've spent any time watching any of my videos, you know it's a few things in life I'm extremely passionate about. Fragrances is one, cars, music. Okay, so I figured out a way to tie it all in together. What I got for you today are 12 of my favorite R&B songs from 1990 through 1999. That's right, the decade of the 90s. Artists that sung them, and the fragrances in my collection that I think they would have loved. Now, you want to know what I picked? Meet me on the other side of this intro and don't get into it. See you in just a second. What's going on, everybody? You guessed it, it is your boy Trey Sense here. Got a little bit of video, a little bit of a discussion. You know how we do it here on the channel. What are we going to talk about today? Well, 12 of my favorite R&B songs that came out from 1990 to 1999, the decade of the 90s, the artists that sung them, and the fragrances in my collection that I think best represents them or that they would have worn. Now, before we get into this, I do have a little something I need from you. I need you to like, share, and sub. So many of you keep coming, returning to the scene of the crime. Like 70%, 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subbed. What are you waiting on? It's free, won't cost you a thing. Clearly you like the content because you keep coming back. So just give your boy a sub. Now, let's get into it. Let's get into this. Hold on just a second. Let me adjust you real quick there. Perfect. Now I got you. So, let's get into this. All right, at the number 12 spot is a group. I hate to call them a one-hit wonder, but I don't know what else to call them. They may have had another song that was a little bit popular, but nothing like the first song. The name of the group is Color Me Bad. The song is Sex You Up, and the fragrance is Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. And this is definitely an older formulation. How do I know? Because of the cap. Totally different cap, and definitely the scent. The scent is different. The scent on the newer one is, to me, more unisex than it is masculine. This one, it's still a light blue type of scent, but it just has a different vibe. It's a totally different scent. This is one that I think Dolce & Gabbana completely messed up with the reformulation, to the point where I don't know a lot of guys that even like Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, the newer version, because it just doesn't smell good. The older version does smell good. So this is one I think Color Me Bad would have worn. Why? Because, you know, they were a hodgepodge group of guys, a couple black guys, a couple white guys, you know, very eclectic. So, and this fragrance, I think, just very easy to wear, straight across the board. Everybody could wear it. Nothing. Let me get this notification off my phone. I hate when notifications just sit there. It just distracts me. But anyway, Dolce & Gabbana, the one light blue. Best represents Color Me Bad with I Wanna Sex You Up. I had no business listening to that song about the 9th grade. I had no idea what they were even talking about. But anyway, I had to find out later though. Because I had to find out. Oh my goodness. That's the number 12 spot. At the number 11 spot, you have a group that I know was sort of a one-hit wonder. I don't know whether they put out a second CD or not. I'm sure they did, but it wasn't very popular. At least it didn't reach the success of the first CD. The group is Shai. The song is Comfort. Lay down, tell me what's on your mind. And the fragrance that best represents the group Shai, in my opinion, is Dolce & Gabbana, the One EDP. Now, I have both the EDT and the EDP. Not a whole lot of difference between the T and the P, but the EDP is a little bit richer than the EDT, but I get good performance out of the EDT. I know everybody says, oh, I only get 3 to 4 hours. It does 4 to 6 hours on my skin and projects well. My skin, for some reason, turns a sweet fragrance extremely sweet. So that one really goes sweet. But again, nonetheless, they both smell good. Either one, the EDT or the EDP, they're both very soothing, relaxing, comfortable, come here and cuddle with me type of fragrances that smell really, really good. And I like them both. So representing Shai at the number 11 spot, Dolce & Gabbana, again, it's Comforter. It's the One EDP representing Comforter. All right, now we're at the number 10 spot. And this next group that we have at the number 10 spot, and you have to excuse me as I look down at my dry erase board to help me keep all this stuff straight. 10, 12 groups, 12 fragrances, 12 songs, that's a lot to keep up with. The number 10 spot, we have another group that, you know, probably wasn't very popular outside of the 90s and the few of us that remember them from the 90s. And the group is To The Extreme. And the song is Cry No More. That's right, your boy was just a big old lovable teddy. I still am. I'm a teddy bear, a hopeless romantic. I believe in love and all that it brings and all of that stuff. I'm just a hopeless romantic. So, Cry No More by Shai. No, by To The Extreme. Man, I'm gonna mess up a lot in this video, I'm just telling you. But the fragrance that I think best represents them is from the house of Versace, and it is not Flame, it's the OG Versace Eros. And I look to add a full bottle of Versace Eros perfume. This is enough of Versace Eros because it's a very strong polarizing fragrance. I think it represents To The Extreme simply because it's kind of been forgotten, much like To The Extreme, but it's still a very good fragrance. This is a nice fragrance from Versace. It's very mass appealing, it's crowd pleasing. Anybody that remembers To The Extreme and remembers that song, it's gonna tell you, yeah, I like that song. That was a nice song. It was very pretty. Yeah, much like this fragrance. Just a very nice scent, but it's been so overshadowed by Flame that you don't hear much about Eros anymore. People have forgotten about it. And this is a very crowd-pleasing, mass-appealing, easy-to-wear fragrance that is honestly getting pretty inexpensive nowadays. From the house of Versace, Versace Eros. Now, this next group is the spinoff of one of my favorite groups of all time. The group is New Edition. The spinoff is Belle, Biv DeVoe. And these guys went from singing about Candy Girl and Mr. Telephone Man to singing about Poison. Poison, deadly, moving in slow. The low pro should be cut like an afro. And the fragrance that best represents Belle, Biv DeVoe, in my opinion, is from the house of Dior. And I've told you many times, don't bore her, Dior her. Dior's Fahrenheit. Why? Because much like Belle, Biv DeVoe, it's edgy. Because you got to think about it. Ralph Tresvant, Bobby Brown, and Johnny Gill were the singers of the group. The other guys were more or less background dancers and honestly swag. You know, they brought the swagger, the edge to the group. The edge meets the smooth, much like me. That's what you got. You got smooth with a little bit of edge and personality. I'm a teddy bear, but I will bite you if I have to. I don't want to. I would like to stay here and just be in this chill. But sometimes people push you, and when they do, you gotta stand your ground. So, representing Belle, Biv DeVoe, I honestly feel like Christian Dior's Fahrenheit represents Belle, Biv DeVoe and the song Poison pretty well. I know Dior has a fragrance named Poison, but I think it's a woman's fragrance. So, you know, nonetheless, absolutely love this fragrance. And not to leave the girls of the 90s off the list, because I absolutely love TLC when they came out with Red Light Special. Again, you know where my mind was at. And Baby, 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 you know, those were my jams. And SWV, which You're Always on My Mind, still a classic song to me. And Weak at the Knees, all of those groups. And later on in the 90s, Toto came out with Kissing You. Kissing you, that's all I wanna do. Love that song too, but I don't really have a whole lot of women fragrances, so I couldn't have added them in the list. I don't think they would have worn men's fragrances. Representing Belle, Biv DeVoe, Fahrenheit. All right, where are we at? Okay, that's the number 9 spot, so we're moving to the number 8 spot with my boy and an overlooked artist to me from the 90s, John B, with songs like Pretty Girl, several, too many to list. But this one, you know, who to say? They Don't Know About This here. That was one of my favorites too. This next one though, he did with Tupac, and it's called Are You Still Down? And much like, because I mean, you know what Tupac did when he got on the track. He laced it, he ripped it. from the house of Lacoste is Lacoste Homme Intense. And I think this fragrance best represents John B because it's just overlooked. Much like John, when you talk about R&B artists, there was so many that come out in that time period that it's, I mean, and honestly, you just don't hear much about them anymore. I mean, think about guys like Dru Hill, groups like Dru Hill. You hardly hear about Dru Hill anymore. You just don't hear about Cisco after he did that don. It was like it was the end of his career. It was either that or dyeing his hair gold. That was it for Cisco and Dru Hill. Nonetheless, this fragrance, in my opinion, represents my boy John B. It's smooth, it's sophisticated, but it's inexpensive. It's really solid, much like John B. Because if you think about John B's career and you start thinking about John B's songs, they can stack up against anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those people that not a tremendous singing voice, not a really strong voice, but just a really good R&B presence and a good R&B singer at that time, representing the 90s. Again, he was not a strong vocalist. He wasn't a Robin Thicke that could just, walk in and just blow it out. Totally different vibe, but yet he did a great job to me of staying in his lane and creating a vibe, much like Lacoste Homme. To me, this is a nice, inexpensive YSL tuxedo type of fragrance. Just very classy, casual, but at the same time dressy. I really like this fragrance. Either this one or the OG Lacoste Homme. Both of them are really, really good. Both of them smell really good and do exactly what they're supposed to do. I like this fragrance. I like it a lot. And much like this alligator, he's just like this old bear here. He just wants to cuddle and hug, but sometimes, you have to bite when you're an alligator. So, what they say in water, boy, alligators are honorary because they got too many teeth or something. So, but anyway, I like that. Maybe a crocodile. Which one is it? Alligator or crocodile? At the number 7 spot, a group that I really, really like. The group is Guy. The song is Let's Chill. And the fragrance that I feel like best represents Guy, or fragrance that they would have worn for my collection, Lacoste White. Why? Again, when we talk about music from the 90s, Guy is one of those groups that just don't really come up a lot. And they had, it smells so good. The magic man himself behind the scenes, Teddy Riley, is inside joke. Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley was the mastermind behind a lot of the groups in the 90s, and definitely behind Blackstreet. Not Blackstreet. Goodness, I'm getting off track here. It's the phone ringing, it's throwing me off. Behind Guy. He was behind Blackstreet as well. But much like Guy, this fragrance gets overlooked when you think about fragrances that come in a white bottle or a citrusy type, clean citrusy type fragrance. Lalique White just gets overlooked. Yes, it's had its heyday. Yes, people have talked about it, but it just gets overlooked. To me, it even gets overshadowed by fragrances in its own line, like the Ancre Noirs and the Perhoms Lion Head and the Horse's Head. I mean, to me, White just kind of slides under the radar, much like the group of Guy. It just kind of slides under the radar, and people have sort of forgotten about Guy, and people have sort of forgotten about Lalique White. Really, really good fragrance at the number 7 spot. Now we're getting into this number 6 spot, and who do I got at number 6? The number 6 spot. And these guys, when they came through, kind of changed a lot of R&B. They definitely gave R&B an edge. Let's just call it what it is. They were a little bit, they were country boys, because they were from what, North Carolina, South Carolina? One of the two, country boys, but they had a presence and an edge about them, and the group is Jodeci. The songs from Jodeci, for me, it was Come and Talk to Me. That was always my, my jam. Come and Talk to Me. And then the remix of that was super, super dope as well. Come and Talk to Me, Forever My Lady, Stay. Those were some of my favorite Jodeci songs. And I know other people like stuff that came out later in the 90s, like Freaking You and Fiendin', and those were good songs too. And then Jodeci and Casey kind of branched off and did that whole little JoJo Casey thing. And then it was that wedding song, what was it? All My Life, which was a beautiful song. Fragrance that represents them is Perry Ellis Portfolio Green. And y'all probably say, what? Why this one? As the atomizer on this is pure trash. I mean, it just, oh, but the scent profile. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Green, herbal, spicy fragrance. What does this remind me of? As you know, most of the time, Perry Ellis's fragrance, some kind of way, seems to eerily resemble something else. This fragrance is a very, very close, bears a close resemblance to Dolce and Gabbana's Pour Homme. But since I already had two from DG on here, I didn't want to put a third, so I went with Perry Ellis Portfolio Green. And I do think this represents Jodeci a lot because it's a little bit edgy, but at the same time, it just has this something about it. It's edgy, it's spicy, it's smooth, much like Jodeci. And I'm pretty sure it came out in the 90s, about like Jodeci did. All right, this next one on this list, very controversial individual, but as I peek at the score of the football game, you can't deny the talent that Robert Kelly has. So the artist I just told you is R. Kelly. The song is from the 12 Play album, and it's Your Body's Calling Me. Absolutely love that album, and absolutely love that song, and absolutely love this fragrance. From the house of John Varvatos, it's Artisan Pure. And why do I think this fragrance represents R. Kelly? Well, let's just be honest. R. Kelly's one of those old guys, or older guys, that doesn't realize he's an older guy. And I can't see him wearing anything like Encore Noir. I feel like he would wear something fresh, young, vibrant, and fruity, and that fragrance embodies all of that. Great artist, makes great music. I just wouldn't leave him alone with a blow-up doll. But that's me. Moving along. At the number 4 spot, a group that I mentioned just a little bit ago, Blackstreet, because again, Teddy Riley, the front runner from this group. Well, he wasn't the fourth. He was the brains behind the operation, because that's what Teddy did. Start a group and then become a member of it. Y'all need another member. I'm Teddy Riley. This is our group. And, you know, kind of like Puff Daddy did with dancing. Puff Daddy danced all in the video. Teddy just joined your group. The group was Blackstreet. The song was Before I Let You Go, Can I Get a Kiss Goodnight? And you see the fragrance is Bleu de Chanel. Now, again, this was towards my either junior or senior year in high school when Blackstreet hit real big. But that song, because come on now. I know I wasn't the only guy. Back when we came through, if you're about my age, it wasn't a whole lot of stuff to do. If you had a car, you could ride around your little local town, maybe play some video games with the homeboys, but I mean, you know, we was still talking about Nintendo, so, you know, we hadn't even got the 64-bit yet, so it wasn't that elaborate. You know, you still had a house phone, so it was before the internet, before pages, so getting a little kiss goodnight was something that, you know, we all worked to try to do. So why the similarities between Blackstreet and this fragrance? Because Blackstreet was a very, very dope and instrumental group in the 90s. But much like this fragrance, people don't really talk about Blackstreet anymore. And I'm not really sure why. I think it's because for some reason, it's always guys like Boyz II Men and Jodeci. Jodeci still gets a lot of talk, and Silk. But we have forgotten a lot about Blackstreet, just like we've forgotten about Bleu de Chanel. To me, this is still out of the Bleu de Chanel line. I'm torn between this one and the Parfum. They're all three good. They're all three a little bit different. This one, to me, is the most wearable, the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Versatile, that's the word I'm looking for. This one just fits more occasions than the other two. Definitely, this one's more of a 4-season type of scent. Definitely winter, summer, spring, or fall. Where the other two are more cooler weather. You can wear them in the warmer weather, but this is one I would reach for year-round. Nice little I don't know what I'm gonna wear, date night type of fragrance right here. Just a very well-rounded office, date, play, whatever you want to do type of scent. Much like the group of Blackstreet, which was led by Teddy Riley and Dave Hollister. Nice little group. The number 3 spot was probably my favorite group from the 90s. And they had a lot of hits like Feels Like I Just Walked Out of Heaven, Let's Get Married, put a little oomph in it, which was probably one of my favorite songs. The group is Jagged Edge. The fragrance is Bleu. Why? And the song is Gotta Be. Why Bleu? Well, because it's a different kind of blue. When Bleu came out, much like when Jagged Edge came out, they kind of picked up where Jodeci left off, but were a little bit more soulful than Jodeci. But they still had that bad boy, I don't want to say thuggish, but you know, they sung songs. Jagged Edge and Jodeci both, to me, kind of sung love songs from a guy's point of view. Just saying. As opposed to where Boys to Men went straight in mushy. They big and whatever. Versace's Bleu is kind of that same way to me. It's the edgier version of this. This is very non-offensive, smooth, relaxed, cool, chill. This is a little bit loud, a little bit obnoxious, a little bit unapologetic. But they're both blues, right? Very similar. But if you want to just blend in, smell good, and people catch wafts, you go with Bleu de Chanel. If you want to knock the door off, you go with Bleu. So much like comparing Blackstreet to Jodeci. Blackstreet, was, in no form or fashion were they edgy or thuggish like Jodeci and Jagged Edge. So represent Jagged Edge, gotta be, it's Bleu de Chanel, got to be. Wow, so we have reached the top 2. At the number 2 spot is a group I really like. Really like these guys from Waco, Texas. Speaking of I like, they had a song called I Like the Way You Kiss Me When You're Playing the Kissing Game. The group, High Five. The songs that I picked are Unconditional Love and Quality Time. And again, those are both written by Robert Kelly. The fragrance that I feel represents them is Allure Homme Sport. Why? Because they also had songs that were a little bit edgy and a little bit business, like, what was the name of the song? Just Can't Handle It. Yeah, I think that's the name of it. And she said she would do anything just so she could hear me. She just can't handle it. What am I gonna do? Yeah, I mean, that song meant business. That meant business. Just like Chanel Allure Homme Sport. Again, much like this fragrance. Nice, citrusy, dressy, but at the same time masculine. Sport, I don't think, is a good name for this fragrance, because this fragrance doesn't make me want to go do something sporty. It makes me want to chill, relax, and be dressed up. Like if I were going to a springtime wedding, I would either wear my version, Kevin's from Sensual Obsessions version of YSL tuxedo, or this, or Lacoste L'Homme Intense, or this. And that kind of reminds me of High Five, because they were, Quality Time is a dope song, and Unconditional Love is a dope song. This is a very dope fragrance. Very dope. Very underrated as well, as many of these artists are, but that's the connection to me between the group, the artist, the group, the song, and the fragrance is very low-key, underrated music, produced by a legend, an icon. Whether you like R. Kelly or not, the man could write songs. He could make a song, he could make a hit. And this fragrance by Chanel Allure was a hit. So was High Five, and groups like that. I absolutely loved High Five, still do. I still play that music. Those songs get played at least once a month by me, because I'm always listening to music at some point in the day, especially when football season's over with. That's what I do. Last but not least, the number 1 spot, number 23, that's not bad. The number 1 spot on this list of R&B songs, singers from the 90s that just make your boy's heart go pitter-pat is Michael Jackson with Remember the Times. And that has to be the coldest video song combination ever. And the fragrance that I think Mike would rock for my collection would have been Acqua di Parma's Fico di Amalfi. Now, I tossed and turned with this one between Mancera, Cedroc Boise, Creed's Aventus, and Roja's Elysium. But I was like, they're tired of hearing about Creed Aventus. I talk about Cedroc enough. And Elysium has been talked about quite a bit too. They're all in the same vein as their fruity, masculine, citrusy, woody, smoky type of citruses. Now, Elysium and Fico are less masculine than Cedroc and Aventus. Much like Mike, this fragrance is youthful, playful, or was youthful. You know, Mike, he was a big kid at heart, you know, building an amusement park and all that stuff. He's just a big kid. And this fragrance, to me, is just youthful and playful. It's not one of those serious type fragrances. I would not try to dress this up. But if I were on a vacation where I was staying at a very nice resort, Fico or Elysium is something that I would reach for. Now, Elysium, I think, is one that has the best scent profile out of all of them, but the performance on it versus the price is just horrible. It just doesn't perform, but it is a monster. And every time I have worn Elysium, I have received a compliment. So that is that. At the #1 spot, it is Michael Jackson, Remember the Times, and the fragrance is Fico di Amalfi from Acqua di Parma. And Mike has a line in that song where he was like, it was like a run. He's like, I know you remember. I bet you remember. I mean, that's just cold to me. And then he said something about on the phone, you and me, 2, 3. Love it. Because I know I wasn't the only one that stayed up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning back when he was in the summertime. School was out, you had your little thing, you know, you waited on her to call and you talked 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, falling asleep. Come on. I know we all did that. You hang up. No, you hang up. I know we all did that. Come on. Come on. But anyway, Remember the Times, Mike, is at #1. All right, guys, that is it. That's all I have for you. I am going to shut this video down, thumbnail it, edit it, upload it so you guys can see it. I hope you all are having a beautiful weekend and enjoying yourself. It's been absolutely beautiful here in Alabama today, and I absolutely love it. Again, thank you all for returning to the scene of the crime. I really, really appreciate it. You know, I love you all. Please be active in the comments section. Let me know what some of your favorite songs that brings back butterflies and memories from the 90s and makes you just go, man, if I could go back. Was I really that mannish? One of the two. Yes, we were that mannish. And the fragrances that you think represent them from your collection. How about that? Or just, you know, your favorite fragrance from the 90s. That'll work too. You know, but anyway, I've got to get off here because I got a little bit more work to do. But I will see you guys soon. Thank you for stopping by the channel and being the best part of it and returning to the scene of the crime. You know already, I love you all and may God bless you all. Till next time, guys, peace.